I don't know where to begin. It feels almost surreal to put this into words after all these years of silence. Maybe I should have spoken up earlier, but the shame was too overwhelming. Who would believe me? A grown man being abused by his wife? It sounds like something from a bad movie, but it's my reality. Linda and I met 8 years ago at a company party. She was spontaneous, charismatic, and intelligent. Everything I had ever dreamed of. We got married after 2 years, and at first, everything was perfect. But slowly, something began to change. It started with small things. A shove here, a firm grip on my arm there. But it got worse. The first time she truly hit me was after a dinner party at our house. The guests had just left, and I had joked with one of her colleagues during the evening. When the door closed, she turned to me with a look I had never seen before. "You were flirting with her, weren't you?" she hissed. Before I could respond, she slapped me so hard my ears rang. I was so shocked I couldn't move. That night, she cried for hours, begged for forgiveness, and said she would seek help. I wanted to believe her, but it was just the beginning. Now it has reached the point where I have a bag with basic necessities hidden in the garage in case I need to flee quickly. 3 times in the past year, I've checked into a hotel under a false name, scared she'll find me. Afraid my colleagues will notice the bruises. Afraid someone will find out. I used to go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week. Now I've had to stop because I often have bruises on my body. If I show myself naked, people will eventually start asking questions. The worst part is her threats. "If you ever defend yourself and I get even the smallest mark, I'll go straight to the police," she says. "Who do you think they'll believe? A big, strong man like you or a small woman like me?" She's right. I can't defend myself. All I can do is take it or run. Once, she attacked me with a frying pan in the kitchen. She landed 2 hard blows, one on my chest, which left a bruise larger than my palm, and another on the side of my head. I managed to raise my arm to block it from hitting me with full force. Otherwise, it would have knocked me unconscious. But it still left me dizzy and bleeding. To stop her from hitting me further, I wrapped my arms around her and forced her to the floor. She screamed at me and tried to break free. I lay there with her all night until she fell asleep from exhaustion. Then I locked myself in the bathroom to sleep. My friends noticed something is wrong. Anders asked the other day why I never join them for after-work drinks anymore. How do I explain that Linda loses her temper if I don't come straight home after work? That every text message alert on my phone is scrutinized? That I have to call and check in if I'm more than 10 minutes late? Peter, my best friend since high school, would probably just laugh if I told him. He's the kind of guy who always talks about being a real man. He would never understand. And my parents? They adore Linda. She's always so charming when we meet them, the perfect daughter-in-law. My dad would probably have a heart attack if he knew the truth. Last night, things got particularly bad. I got home 5 minutes later than usual because of an accident on the highway. She was waiting in the hallway. I tried to explain, showed her the news on my phone about the traffic accident, but she wouldn't listen. "You've been with someone else," she screamed, throwing her phone at my head. I ducked, and it shattered against the wall. That only made her angrier. She ran to the kitchen and came back with a knife. I ran toward the bathroom and managed to shut the door just as something hit it. It was the knife. She had thrown it. She went completely berserk and started attacking the door with the knife and other objects. Thankfully, the door held. Eventually, she must have gotten tired. I heard her footsteps going downstairs, then the sound of the liquor cabinet opening. It's always the same. After every outburst, she drinks, then comes the anxiety and the tears. I waited in the bathroom for hours. Around 5 a.m., I snuck out. She was passed out drunk in the hallway. I grabbed my emergency bag, which contains bandages, antiseptic, and other essentials, and checked into a hotel. I'm writing this from the hotel room. I think I have to end this now. I've been on the verge of leaving many times, but every time I try, she threatens to kill herself. Thankfully, we don't have kids. She wants them, but I've made sure that hasn't happened. I can't let a child grow up in this. A divorce will probably be straightforward legally, but what will happen when I file the papers? Will she accuse me of assault, rape, or something else? She's threatened to do so many times. I also suspect she's cheating on me. I've seen messages on her phone when she's asleep that suggest as much. The thing is, I don't care. I feel nothing for her anymore. The only reason I've stayed is to avoid false accusations. But after yesterday, I don't think it matters anymore. It was an escalation I hadn't expected. Now, I need to contact a lawyer and get a divorce. What do the accusations matter if I don't survive anyway? For about a year, I've been keeping a journal hidden in a password-protected document on my work computer. I document dates, incidents, injuries. I take pictures with an old phone she doesn't know about. Maybe this will be enough evidence, but I don't know. Do you think this kind of evidence is enough, or am I doomed? I'll try to get some sleep now, but then I'll contact a lawyer. Update 1. I woke up around 2 p.m. I hadn't planned to sleep that long, but apparently my body needed it. The headache from yesterday is still there, but it's not as intense. I called my boss and explained that I needed a few days off to handle a personal crisis. He seemed to understand and told me to take the time I needed. It was a relief to have at least someone show a bit of empathy, even if he doesn't know the details. I managed to get hold of a lawyer specializing in family law. We're meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. She originally wanted to book the appointment for next week, but when I explained the situation, she made room in her schedule. It feels both terrifying and like a relief that this is finally happening. She told me she wants all the messages Linda has sent me, along with the document on my work computer. She wants to go through everything and submit it to the police if she thinks it's sufficient. We'll discuss it more tomorrow. Linda has called 37 times since this morning. I haven't answered, but I've read some of her messages. Please, darling, forgive me. I don't know what happened. It will never happen again, I promise. I will kill myself if you don't answer. You did this to me. You provoked it. If you had come home on time, this would never have happened. If you go to the police, I'll tell everyone what you really are, a woman beater. I've saved pictures of bruises I can show. I love you. Please come home. I'll get help this time, for real. It's strange. A year ago, these messages would have made me rush home. Now I feel nothing. Just exhaustion. I'm sitting here in the hotel room, staring at my phone. Linda's messages keep coming in, but I can't bring myself to respond. It feels like a fog has lifted, and I can see the situation clearly for the first time in years. Right now, I'm debating whether I should talk to Peter about this. I'm pretty sure he'll laugh at me, but if I go to the lawyer and start the process, everyone will find out anyway. So it might be better to just rip the Band-Aid off. I'll think about it a bit more. If something significant happens, I'll update you. Update 2. I had the meeting with my lawyer. It was a tough one. She was very professional, but it was still difficult. I think it was even harder to explain my situation so thoroughly to a woman. You don't exactly feel masculine when you talk about this kind of thing. Men are supposed to be able to defend themselves, but doing so against a woman who weighs just over 50 kilos, about 110 pounds, is hard when you can't leave a single mark on her, especially when she sometimes uses weapons. I explained everything, and she was sympathetic. We talked for hours, and in the end, she said I definitely have a case, legally speaking. She asked if I wanted to pursue legal action or try to negotiate with Linda instead. The advantage of negotiating is that we have some leverage during the divorce proceedings. The evidence is quite extensive, and if we were to call the police now, they could likely secure evidence from the incident a few days ago, including the damaged door full of knife marks. I chose to try negotiating without involving the police, hoping she won't escalate with her lies either. I haven't responded to Linda yet, and she calmed down with the barrage of messages yesterday. But this morning, she started again. One of her messages said she knows where I am. This is a big hotel with good security, though. The elevators don't move without a keycard, and you have to pass reception to get to them. Plus, I paid in cash, so the hotel name won't show up anywhere she could see. Still, before I thought it through, I was a bit worried. Tonight, I'll send her a text informing her that I've hired a lawyer and that they will call her tomorrow afternoon. And the plan is for my lawyer to advise her to get her own lawyer, and then we'll start negotiating. Oh, by the way, I moved 50% of our savings into my account. It's not a huge amount of money, but it's enough to stay in a hotel for a few months, maybe even a year if I switch to a cheaper one. Hopefully, this will be resolved long before that. If it drags on, maybe I can borrow a room from a friend. But that would mean explaining what's happening, and I'm not keen on that. Right now, I just want to sleep. I'm so tired I can barely stay awake even though it's only 7 p.m. I'll update if anything else happens. Update 3. I sent Linda the text about 2 hours ago. It was short and to the point, just that I had hired a lawyer who would contact her tomorrow afternoon regarding our divorce. Her reaction? It was like opening the floodgates. At first, the usual messages came in. Please, baby, forgive me. I love you. It'll never happen again. When I pointed out that she said the exact same thing after every incident and that this time was different, she actually pulled a knife on me, her tone changed completely. You coward, she wrote. Do you really think you can hide from me? When this is over, I'll find you and you'll wish you never left me. Then she continued. You'll never be able to relax, never feel safe. I have friends everywhere. It was unsettling, but what came next was almost comical in a sick way. She started insulting me sexually, saying I was worthless in bed, had a pathetically small member, and could never last more than a few seconds. Then she claimed she'd been cheating on me for 3 years and that she finally knows what it's like to be with a real man. After that, she sent a photo. It's her, looking into the camera with stuff on her face. Well, let's just say the details don't matter. The strange thing is that her attempts to hurt me no longer work. A year ago, those words would have crushed me. Now, they just seem like more proof that I'm doing the right thing by leaving. The only thing that truly scares me is her threats. I know she's capable of violence. I've saved all the messages. My lawyer said to document everything, so I'm taking screenshots continuously. It feels surreal to sit here methodically archiving her hatred and threats, like it's just another office task. The hotel reception just called to ask if I wanted to extend my stay. I booked another week. It feels safer here than anywhere else right now. Tomorrow, I'll call Peter. After Linda's latest outburst, I feel like I need someone to talk to even if he might laugh at me. It is what it is. I'm exhausted but can't sleep. Her messages keep coming in. I've turned off the sound, but I can see the screen flashing in the dark. I thought I'd feel better after finally taking the step to leave. In some ways, I do. I know I'm doing the right thing, but the fear is worse now. Before, I at least knew where the threat was. Now, she could be anywhere. Update 4. It's been 2 weeks since my last post. A lot has happened, and for the first time in a long while, it feels like I can finally breathe a little easier. I'm now staying with David and his family. Telling him everything was the hardest conversation of my life, but his reaction, it completely surprised me. Instead of laughing or belittling me, as I had feared, he just listened. When I was done, he sat in silence for a long time before saying, Damn, man, why didn't you tell me sooner? Then he immediately offered me a room in his basement without hesitation. His wife was just as understanding. They've given me my own space where I can be alone when I need to, which is often. Linda kept bombarding me with messages for a few days after my last post. It followed the same pattern, desperate pleas for reconciliation, followed by hateful outbursts filled with threats and insults. She sent more pictures, too. Several were of her being nailed by a man, clearly meant to hurt me. But suddenly, as if someone had turned off a faucet, everything stopped. I'm guessing her lawyer finally managed to make her understand how much she was damaging her own case. The first negotiation meeting was strange. The woman sitting there wasn't at all the Linda I had come to know over the past few years. She was calm, composed, and almost overly accommodating. My lawyer later told me she had shared some of Linda's more threatening messages with her legal representative. Maybe that's what made her realize the seriousness of the situation. We don't have any children, which simplifies things significantly. I asked for a 60-40 split of our assets, the house and savings, as a form of compensation for everything I've been through. To my surprise, she didn't protest. She didn't try to speak to me after the negotiation, and I managed to leave without any incident. The papers are now with the court for processing. But even though everything seems to be going my way, I can't shake the feeling that it's too easy. Linda never gives up without a fight. Every night I check that the front door is locked at least 3 times. Every unexpected noise makes me jump. David says this will pass with time. Yesterday, I packed up the last of my belongings from our old home while Linda was at work. It felt like cleaning up after a nightmare. Among the boxes, I found our wedding photo. I remember how happy I was that day, how full of hope. Now, I can barely recognize the people in the picture. My lawyer says the divorce should be finalized within a few months.
If you liked this story, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. It helps a lot, and you won't miss out on any future stories. Take care and live your best life.